We are here at CPAC 2025, and I'm joined now by George Harizanov of the Institute of Right-Wing Policies. He's the CEO, also based in Bulgaria. Thank you for visiting the United States and being with us here at the Daily Signal.
Hey Rob, great to be here. I'm honored to finally meet you in live, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, I know you're a friend of the Heritage Foundation, and of course the Daily Signal got its start over 10 years ago at Heritage. But you know, there's so much focus, George, on international affairs. In the last 30 days under Donald Trump, I mean, he has just ushered in a new era in Washington, D.C. And of course, just recently, J.D. Vance was in Europe. Tell us from your perspective, how things are going as we're a month into Trump's presidency.
What's happening now is long-awaited and much appreciated.
Okay.
From the people who care about the future of Europe. Because last 4 years, they were years of, some kind of inertia. Nothing was basically happening, and everyone was thinking that everything is fine, just because nothing was happening. And in the meantime, some huge networks of left media influence were built around with your public funds, with state money, with your tax dollars. And people in Europe got the impression that everything is fine just because you get these extremely positive articles about the Biden administration, about everything that's going on. And basically, when all the media is telling you that everything is fine, you're kind of starting to believe it. But actually, it wasn't. Because we had the same issues that you are trying to battle here now with your very active president, something that we are definitely missing in Europe. The growing bureaucracy, the growing regulations, the constantly increasing prices of energy, the suffocated economy, the lack of competition, the lack of free market, because basically the states are interfering in the economy on every level. So, nothing was right. You recognized it. People gave their vote, and now you have a strong and active president and government and administration who are basically not afraid to tackle the challenges. We miss that in Europe, and that's why the challenge made by J.D. Vance is extremely important.
Well, let's talk.
It's long-awaited and much appreciated.
Let's talk about that challenge. J.D. Vance here at CPAC, of course, kicking off the event. But in his speech, when he was in Europe, he pointed the finger at Europe and said, look, your problems are in many cases self-inflicted. What was it like hearing that message from the vice president?
Look, honestly, as a Bulgarian, I can tell you that countries from Central and Eastern Europe, like Hungary, like Poland, we don't recognize ourselves in the speech because those critics cannot be applied to our countries. We invest a lot in defense and military. We have strong and conservative spending of public funds, conservative budgets with low debts. Our borders are secured. We don't have street crime. We don't have imported terrorism. We are not battling those issues that the weak governments in the West allowed to become part of their everyday life. Like the mayor of London saying, oh, someone gets up, so this is the new reality, you have to get used to it. We don't want to get used to it. And basically, our governments were strong enough to battle the Brussels bureaucracy in order to apply the policies that Vice President Vance was talking about. He's absolutely right about everything, but those are problems of the western part of Europe.
So, explain to me in more detail, because for my own awareness and those of our audience, what is it that has allowed Bulgaria to set itself apart and have resistance to Brussels in the way that you described?
Well, the strong national governments. It's always up to that. Why is Texas so different from California? Maybe because they don't have such failure of a governor like Newsom there, right? And they have different laws and different state regulations, and they are trying to be a better state within the federation, unlike California and unlike many others. So Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, for example, Poland, especially before Tusk, were countries with strong national governments who told Brussels, look, we are pro-European. We care about the interests of Europe, and we think that securing our borders is actually serving the interests of Europe. So please don't push us. We are not going to open our borders. We are not going to allow uncontrolled illegal immigration. We want to know who's entering. He should enter the legal way. So basically, there were no issues, and Brussels were not applying pressure on countries who decided to adopt the closed border, the controlled border, the legal border policies. Bulgaria did it, Hungary did it, a lot of other countries did it, and it's up to the national governments.
Do you sense that there will be
It's very important who you vote for and who do you elect to rule your country, your state, your town, your city.
And what I'm hearing from you is not only in the form of government, but leadership is so critically important. And obviously that's what we're seeing here now in the United States.
Yep.
Immigration, illegal immigration has been a huge issue in this country. I think it was one of those things that propelled Donald Trump back to the White House. Do you think that the leaders of those European countries that have had open borders are recognizing the consequences that come with illegal immigration?
I think they do, and I think that they are not willing to battle those.
Okay.
Because you had the Swedish, for example, prime minister. Sweden is a synonym of a very successful, very rich country. At the same time, there were 32 bombings in January only because the gangs from illegal immigrants there, from illegal criminals, they are already so tired and bored of just shooting each other because it's not that effective. There are a lot of them. So you cannot shoot each and every one of your competitors, that they started throwing grenades at each other. At the cafes and the apartments where they gather around, just someone from the competition comes and throws a grenade. You have 32 of these cases in January alone, and the Swedish Prime Minister, believe me or not, Rob, he just went out and said, we don't have control over the situation. Imagine your Prime Minister telling you that your state is not in control of what's happening in your country. Just imagine that.
Yeah, shocking and disappointing. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about another big story in the news, and that is the peace talks that have begun over ending the conflict in Ukraine. Are you hopeful that the Trump team will be able to bring the parties together and end this war, which, as we know, has been going on for 10 years now?
It is. Ukraine is extremely close to our borders. So, of course, we care a lot about peace. One thing should be clear, Russia is the aggressor. Russia started the war, not Ukraine. And Russia is ruled by a dictator. Because basically, if you see the story of elections in Russia and Belarus, basically it's the same guy for the last 20 years. So I'm not sure Zelensky is a dictator. Everyone that says that there should be elections in Ukraine has his points. I respect that. But it's important to remember the facts. So, peace talks, extremely important. I believe Trump is making sudden moves, just disrupting the situation.
That's how he normally does it, right?
That's how he normally does it, and it's extremely effective. And everyone who says, oh, Trump is now, guilty of everything that's happening in the last week. Okay, how about the past 3 years? He was not in charge by then, was he? And when you talk about corruption and money missing, Zelensky had a great interview with Piers Morgan a month ago where he was talking how the Biden administration was forcing him to pay to American companies to ship the ammunition to Ukraine, which was done on a crazy high prices, and he said we can ship them alone, and the Biden administration did not allow us to. So Zelensky said, if you're looking for corruption, we are not perfect, but you should also take a look at the Biden administration and what they've been doing to us on the past 3 years. So everyone is saying, oh, what is Trump doing, in the past week, How about the last 3 years, guys?
Yeah. Sounds like a good investigative story for the Daily Signal. George, before I let you go, can you tell our audience about the Institute of Right-Wing Policies, how individuals can learn more about your organization and follow your work?
We are 11 years old. We were founded in 2014, trying to unite the right-wing forces, because one of the big traps that the left has set out on the past decade is trying to divide the right-wingers, far right, whatever that means, outright, whatever that means, nationalists, whatever that means. I believe everyone loves his nation and his country. If he's not a good person, if he doesn't. So we are trying to unite everyone on the right. Yes, there are different parties, different fractions, but I believe common ground, common sense are very important. And basically, we are trying to promote that, no matter to which party you belong to. If you believe and if you trust, in God, family, nation, freedom, private property. If you believe in those things, and if you want to work with us, you're always welcome. And we are trying to promote such policies and such politicians, such young talents, in order to send the message and to bring more people into the movement globally.
Well, sounds like a great mission. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thanks for visiting the United States and being with us today at CPAC.
Thanks for having us. All the best, Rob. Hope to see you around soon.
Thank you.
Subscribe to get the news the legacy media won't tell you and only the Daily Signal can bring to you.